spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
We'll say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner. Welcome to 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. I am your host, Brian McFadden, back after a week off. We took off the week between Christmas and New Year's. Our producer, Anthony Wayner, behind the scenes, running some shows, keeping some content out there for you guys. Special show. Today is Tuesday, which means we'll be doing a power rankings draft. We do not have Jimmy from NFL Stats. He is recovering from the flu. Jimmy, we hope you feel better. But we do have Aaron Salazar from the Hasbeen Sports Podcast joining us as we head into the final week of the regular season to talk about some power rankings one last time while the regular season is in play. Aaron, how you doing, Dad?
I'm doing well, Brian. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to get this going.
Yeah, excited to have you. We cannot get started without mentioning the obvious. I was watching Monday Night Football live last night as I watch as many of the games as I can. Aaron, I'm not sure if you saw it live or you just saw some of the comments afterwards. Something completely unprecedented in NFL history. Damar Hamlin tackled T. Higgins just on what looked like a hard hit, but nothing out of the ordinary. Gets up and then almost immediately just collapses. Medical professionals rushed onto the field, performed CPR for 9 minutes. He went into cardiac arrest. He has been transported to Tier 1 Trauma Center in Cincinnati there at one of the local hospitals. He is he's still in critical condition, but positive signs are coming out. Where were you? Were you watching the game? Give me some of your thoughts on this horrible incident.
Yeah, me and my wife were watching the game and then just kind of saw it, all unfold. And it was very surprising because at first he bounces up. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, normal play. And then next thing you know, he kind of like just freezes and he goes down. And that's when you're like, oh, wow. Like I've never seen that happen. Normally you don't quite bounce up, after a hit like that. And he was supposed to be the one giving the hit. And I'm not blaming T. Higgins here, but he did kind of, drive into him a little bit.
Normal football play, though. I mean, it was like,
oh, yeah, absolutely.
We've seen so much worse this season, let alone, in previous seasons. Mm-hmm. I think it's just we don't know the details as far as was there a previous heart condition?
Right.
What caused the cardiac arrest? I don't think it was a blame on either player. It wasn't even like a head-to-head thing. It was just a
freak accident.
Freak accident. I had trouble watching it. I was getting emotional. It was just one of those things that we cover football. This is what we do. Mm-hmm. We're talking power rankings tonight, and this is just one of those moments that erases all of that. It throws the idea of covering football out the door. And credit to ESPN for covering it the way they did. I actually thought they handled it with humanity. I was a little worried about that. We've seen instances in the past where Schefter has not necessarily handled these things, at least on Twitter, in the most humane way. But he did a great job on the broadcast. But it's just one of those things that, of course, the game was suspended. If for some reason you aren't following the news, that will not be played in Week 17 at all. Week 18 slate will not be adjusted. Any thoughts, Aaron, on what you think might happen going forward with the Bills and Bengals?
Well, I know we were talking about this a little bit before we started, but I think it kind of makes sense, to maybe potentially give them both a tie. No win, no loss, but I'm not quite sure how that affects, playoff seeding. And then also, I know you mentioned it, that they might actually do a Week 19, which would be pretty cool to allow them to actually play out this game, and, see what actually happens. Because I know the Bengals, Bills, two high caliber teams, two playoff teams, obviously, that's a matchup we all wanted to see, and of course we're praying for Hamlin, but, they got to play this game. I feel like, and hopefully they do come up with a decision to play a week 19.
I like that over the tie idea. There are a lot of playoff implications here. One of the ideas is if you do a week 19, you condense the 2 weeks between the conference championships and the Super Bowl so that the Super Bowl is just 1 week later. So the Super Bowl itself doesn't have to move. I like that idea. I like the idea of these teams playing. It's tough. I feel for these players. I mean, you saw some of them bawling their eyes out on the field. The fact that they have to go out and play. It's just a different game this week. The Bengals have the Ravens and the Bills play the Patriots, and then have to revisit that game at some point. It's just heartbreaking. The one thing, they absolutely should have canceled the game. They probably should have canceled it quicker. I think that was the one thing. Like it was obvious that these guys were not going to be in a state to play from a mental health standpoint.
And I didn't even want to watch the game, if they were to play it, because it's like only thing I wanted to know is how well the player was doing, and we were just on Twitter, me and my wife on Twitter looking for updates.
Oh yeah.
So I wasn't there to be entertained at that point. I just wanted to make sure Damar Hamlin was going to be okay.
Right. With that in mind, I know that this is our Power Rankings draft. Aaron's on. We're going to take turns drafting from 32 to 1. I personally did not move the Bills or the Bengals from where I had them previously. I felt it wouldn't be fair to adjust them for multiple reasons, namely for Damar Hamlin as he fights to recover. We have seen recent updates on Twitter that they went from providing 100% of his oxygen to providing only 50%, meaning that he's actually breathing a little bit more on his own. So we've seen positive updates coming out. So I don't know where he's going to end up. I'm putting that out there. I don't know if anybody will be offended. We have to rank all 32 teams. I personally did not move the Bills or the Bengals, so they're where I had them previously, if that's any consolation. But Aaron, we're coming on here. We're going to talk some football. We only got 2 more of these specific episodes. We're going to have Jimmy back next Tuesday to do a final season power rankings. But are you ready to jump into Week 18, Aaron?
Oh, yeah, let's do this.
Great. So our producer, Anthony, behind the scenes has the tier maker ready. 30 minutes of football with legit football. Week 18 NFL Power Rankings starts now. So, Aaron, you are the guest. I'm going to go ahead and give you number 32. Who are you going to put at the bottom of the Power Rankings this week?
I think the obvious one is the team that has a shot at the number 1 drafting spot is the Houston Texans at 2-13-1.
Yeah, that's the obvious spot. I like that they were able to string a couple victories together, or 3 really hard-fought
losses.
Games. They almost beat the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Who did they nearly beat the week before? I'm
Kansas City.
The Chiefs, that's right.
Yeah.
They took the Chiefs to overtime and then was able to finally get the win against Tennessee in week 16 and then completely got just bulldozed by the Jaguars. But hey, Texans fans, you guys have played well. You kind of know that you're at 32. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to number 31, Arizona Cardinals. I don't want to spend a lot of time on the Cardinals. I've had my thoughts on Kingsbury. I don't think he should return next season, Aaron. I don't know if you have a quick opinion on that.
Being a Texas Tech guy, I do like Cliff Kingsbury, but I think you're right. He should be out of there.
Yeah, he didn't even have a great record at Texas Tech, just to throw that out there. Maybe he should be an offensive coordinator in college somewhere. That's my thoughts. All right, let's keep it rolling. Number 30.
Number 30, I'm going to go ahead and throw in the Bears. 9-game losing streak. They're just not looking very good at this point. Yes, Justin Fields is playing good football, not great football, but they just got so much to add around him, both offensively and defensively, to where they're just not up to the task right now.
Yeah, Justin Fields finished with 75 yards passing.
Yeah.
Against a Lions secondary that has not been one of the league's elite by any means. They did start strong. Fields had yet another highlight-worthy run, capped off their first drive with a touchdown pass to Cole Kmet. They looked like they were starting hot. Got a little banged up late in that first quarter, and he wasn't quite the same. They sacked him 7 times. The Lions did. The Lions, Anthony, Lions fan, definitely looking much better, especially in the pass rush. So that'll bode well. We'll talk more about them when we come up. Let's go ahead and go to number 29. I would have put the Colts behind the Bears, but I mean, a lot of these teams at the back are just interchangeable. But let's go ahead and put the Indianapolis Colts at 29. Nick Foles, Super Bowl MVP for the Eagles. I don't know what happened. He has not been a good quarterback, but, he does get hit badly. I don't know if you saw the Thibodeau celebration, the sack celebration, where he's like doing a snow angel for like 12 seconds.
Yeah, he was down there for a while, and I thought that was kind of messed up.
Yeah, that was definitely not a good look. But the Colts, all these teams at the bottom, they're glad it's Week 18. They just want this season to be done. The Colts in particular, first team to fire their coach during the season. The whole Jeff Saturday experience, a single win against a Raiders team, that's a whole nother story. Only to just have embarrassing showings, that the historic loss against the Vikings, the fourth quarter against the Cowboys. Like, I don't want to watch any more Colts games this season. I don't think Colts fans do either. So let's keep it rolling on to number 28.
Number 28, I'm going to put the Denver Broncos. Mr. Unlimited has been very limited this season. They fired Nathaniel Hackett. The offense did look a little bit better against the Chiefs, but still, Russell Wilson, I think he threw a pick and a fumble. That pick came late in the game for them to lose it. And, he took a sack on fourth down. So this team, they need to figure out what they're going to do at the coaching staff, if they're going to keep Russell Wilson still there or not. And they got to add, some better players around him as well.
Well, on that note, David Morazzo in the chat. Hey, David, nice to see you. Colts hiring Harbaugh. The same question could be posed for the Broncos. I saw a report that the Broncos have actually already reached out to Harbaugh to judge his interest. There was at least a little bit of a post-firing bump. The Broncos looked, they nearly beat the Chiefs. They looked competitive. They didn't look good by any means, especially in the offensive side of the ball. Do you have a thought on Harbaugh's future and where he might end up in the NFL?
I know the NFL is the key where you want to be at, but I feel like he's been there. He's done that. He's doing good in Michigan. Finally got them to the playoffs. He's beaten Ohio State twice. So I think he's good at Michigan, but if the money's right for Denver, he might make that move.
Well, we put in Legit Football, I believe it was yesterday, that there's reports that he's ready to go to the NFL, and if it's the right offer, he's going to make the jump. So really something we're going to be tracking, I'm sure, a lot in the offseason. Let's move to number 27. I'm going to go ahead and put the LA Rams. I like the Baker Mayfield experience. Cam Akers all of a sudden has turned into a good running back again. I think it's just a post-recovery, finally clear of his Achilles injury. So they had some games, the Broncos 2 weeks ago, where they at least gave their fans something to cheer about. But otherwise, what a horrible season following a Super Bowl victory.
Oh, yeah. The Rams, Baker Mayfield, you might want to keep him just in case Matthew Stafford gets hurt again next year, which he did say he's coming back. So we'll see how that goes.
All right, so let's hear from number 26, Aaron.
Number 26, I did put the Atlanta Falcons there on a 4-game losing streak. They replaced Marcus Mariota for Desmond Ridder. Especially, that was a weird time because they were still in the playoff hunt. I don't know.
No credit for beating. I know they're number 31, but they did beat Arizona by 1. Desmond Ridder's first victory as an NFL starter.
Yeah, so but it's a little too late now to getting wins, for the Atlanta Falcons since the Tampa Bay just beat the Panthers. But this team has been kind of bad, all around, and they've been fighting, but they just could never get over that hump to beating some of these higher class teams.
I'm going to go ahead and finish out the NFC South other than the Bucs and put the Panthers there. Actually, no, I guess we still have the Saints up there. I'll put the Panthers up next at 25. I love the way they ended the season. Obviously, they beat the Lions. They're the only team besides the Bills to beat the Lions in the last 9 games. Steve Wilkes did a great job. That defense was resurgent. J.C. Horn before he got injured. He's going to be a candidate. I don't know if there's another team that could be in the Harbaugh sweepstakes. But at the end of the day, and I picked them to beat the Bucs, but they came up short Tom Brady remembered that he has Mike Evans and knows how to throw the deep ball. That beat up Panthers secondary really cost them there. But I think as Panthers fans, you have to be happy with the way the season ended. You're still going to have a good draft pick to go ahead and get your rookie quarterback of the future.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so keep it going. Number 24.
Number 24, I'm going to go the Las Vegas Raiders. They just got – I know they put up a good fight against, the hottest team in the NFL right now. And Jarrett Stidham did play pretty well, but this team –
yeah, where'd that come from? This guy had never had even 100 yards passing in a game. He comes out and just lights up the best defense in the NFL. Tell me how that makes sense.
Right, I know that it's crazy to even think about. But this team, Josh McDaniels, getting rid of Derek Carr for the season, like that made no sense whatsoever. They will have a top 10 draft pick coming up, so we'll see where they go. I think defensively they need to go that route and find someone that could be on the team for more than 2 or 3 years.
So do you think that if there's 4 or 5, from what I can tell, decent quarterbacks that could go in the first round, if the Raiders have a shot at one of those, they still have their first round pick. They traded away the Bears' first round pick that they got for Khalil Mack to the Packers to get Devontae Adams. So they still have a first round pick. Should they go quarterback?
Well, I think you're going to eat up a lot of cap space if you trade Derek Carr, because they just paid him not too long ago. I do like them. I'd rather go defense. Jarrett Stidham, if he closes out the season, playing good football, I think you might be able to ride with him, because there's only
the Chiefs. They play the Chiefs next week, which is an exploitable secondary. I'll say that. Yeah,
I think a lot of the quarterbacks are going to be gone, like the top tier ones that that can come in and start right away. They're going to be gone by the time the Raiders do have to pick. So I'd rather them go defense.
All right, let's move on to number 23, New Orleans Saints. I know they just won, but, I mean, let's be honest. They were eliminated from the playoff race. Disappointing season in Dennis Allen, who has had a previous disappointing season as head coach in the Raiders in the past. Didn't really have a quarterback. I mean, Andy Dalton was like a Band-Aid that made some plays. They have Chris Olave, who definitely showed up. Raheed Shaheed, who kind of came out of nowhere as a star. Jawan Johnson really came on. So what we try to do, Aaron, is you see this, we try to silver lining some of these teams, especially towards the end here. Mm-hmm. Saints fans trying to give you something nice to feel good about. Maybe Sean Payton comes back. I don't know.
Well, they're going to get a lot of draft picks and money for Sean Payton. So I'm pretty sure they're thinking about trading him.
They probably should, but I'm not sure. Actually, I'm pretty sure Dennis Allen's not the answer either. Yeah, let's keep on rolling. Number 22.
I am going to go the New York Jets. They have been playing
low on the Jets. Yeah,
bad football lately. I think they were a 5-game losing streak. At least the Saints have been winning lately, but the Jets have been playing bad. Neither Mike White or Zach Wilson is the answer for their quarterback. Maybe they go get Derek Carr in the offseason. I don't know. That's what I would do. But, Garrett Wilson is, he is really good. That defense is very solid.
Breece Hall will be back. He looked fantastic before he got injured.
Exactly. And then, oh man, I think that this offense would look better with the Derek Carr at the helm, but that defense is playing lights out. I do love their cornerback that they have over there, Sauce Gardner. He is fantastic. He'll probably be the defensive player.
He's got defensive player of the year defensive rookie of the year locked up.
For sure. Yeah.
I do think that with better quarterback play, and that includes Mike White, Jets fans, with better quarterback play, this team would have been in the playoffs. They'll probably spoil my Dolphins' chances and beat Miami next week, so you'll have that to look forward to. All right, number 21, Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson looking better than he has so far in his return. Got the victory. Not exactly an inspired football game. Amari Cooper looked fantastic. Another lost season for Cleveland. I guess we'll have to wait to see what a full offseason looks like for Watson. But otherwise, not a lot. Grant Delpit looked good on defense. He had a really nice game for a defense that struggled all year. So there's some more silver lining for you, Browns fans.
Yeah, the Browns, Deshaun Watson, we know how well he can play, and after his suspension, he slowly is getting better and better and better. You keep Nick Chubb happy, pay that man. I don't think they paid him yet. Keep him there. You might be able to get a couple of picks for Kareem Hunt because I do know he wants to get out of there. I think he was looking for a starting spot, or maybe he's seen he has one more chance to get paid before he's out the league. So there is some upside to the Browns.
All right, let's keep on rolling at number 19. I just realized that ranking is wrong. It says 20. Scroll back up, Anthony. What are we on? We're on 20. 20 and 21 in reverse. Just ignore that, people watching on YouTube. All right, number 20, Aaron.
Number 20, man, this one was a toss-up for me. I could have gone, the Tennessee Titans or the Washington Commanders, but I'm going to throw the Tennessee Titans in there. Yes, I know they have a shot at the playoffs, but they are on this, 5-game losing streak lately. So, that matters to me, how bad of football you're playing. And they just did a lot of winning at the beginning of the season. Now they're losing. Now they look bad. Ryan Tannehill is no longer there, and they weren't even looking that good when he was there offensively. Derrick Henry, he's a beast. He's always going to be a beast, but you got to have some talent, to pull that extra man out the box. You got to go get some wide receivers in this next draft and give Ryan Tannehill or who is their quarterback now?
Josh
Malik
Dobbs.
Willis. Oh, Josh Dobbs. Yes, Josh Dobbs
just started. He looked better as a passer than either Tannehill or Willis have looked all season in a losing effort, but still.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs, 9 days, almost pulled off a Baker Mayfield, going to a team and getting the dub for his first start. But Baker did it in 1 day.
That's true. That he did. All right, so I'm going to keep on rolling. I completely agree with you. The Titans right there at 20. I had them exactly at 20, so we're aligned there. Yes, technically they're a win away from getting a home playoff game in the number 4 seed, but this is not a good football team. I think we can all agree. They've also suffered they're one of, if not the most banged up teams in the NFL right now. So one more before we hit halftime. Let's go ahead and put the Patriots there. I know they won and they can still get in as long as they win next week, but I don't think they'll beat the Bills. I think they faced a Dolphins team with quarterback issues and a little bit of identity crisis. That's still annoying, Anthony. We got to find a better halftime noise. We got to find one that's a little gentler on my ears. All right, we'll quickly touch base on the Patriots in the second half. Quickly, guys, because I want to hear from Aaron on where you can find his stuff. But as always, legitfootball.com, free NFL newsletter. We're not just during the season. We're going to keep content 5 days a week, free email, top stories of the day coming to your email address all year long. So we're going to have draft coverage, free agent coverage, the coaching carousel, any news that out there, we're going to break it down and give it to you, and you can get caught up in the news in just 5 minutes or less. Go to legitfootball.com, enter your email address, and sign up for free. Aaron, let everybody know where they can hear your stuff.
Yes, Hasbeen Sports Podcast. You can basically find us anywhere podcasts are heard. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, iHeart. We are on Twitter at Hasbeen_sports with an S at the end, and on Facebook at the Hasbeen Sports Podcast. We put out 2 episodes a week. We record Tuesdays, have an episode out Wednesday, record Friday, and try to have it out that same night. That way you can enjoy the weekend listening to our podcast.
There you go. Make sure to check out Hasbeen Sports Podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. All right, let's go ahead and roll into the second half. Anthony, get that timer ready and bring up that tier maker. Aaron, you are next. I don't know if you have any thoughts on the Patriots or you just want to keep on rolling.
The Patriots, it's Bill Belichick. He's going to have that team always fighting to be in the playoffs. But just the talent around Mac Jones, I don't see them actually making it. Yeah,
I don't think they'll beat the Bills for many reasons. I think there's the world is going to be cheering for the Bills after what's happened with Damar Hamlin in that game.
Absolutely.
And the Patriots don't deserve the playoffs. I think their defense has scored almost as many touchdowns as their offense. That's not a sustainable success. So even if they make the playoffs, they're just going to get steamrolled by whoever they play. So why don't we hear number 18 from you, Aaron?
Number 18, I'm going to have to go Washington Commanders on this one. Carson Wentz is not the guy to throw in when you want to go win some playoff style football, because that's what they're basically at right now. They just got eliminated because they lost his last game to the Browns. And I think that's more of a Dan Snyder move than it was a Ron Rivera. You're paying Carson Wentz nearly $30 million a year. So get him on the field. Stop paying Tyler Heineke for every game that he starts and every game that he wins. So, I just think Dan Snyder's that kind of owner to, make moves like that. So
it might be new ownership too. I mean,
Yeah.
they could very well. They've said they're exploring a sale. Does new ownership want to deal with Ron Rivera, a coach who doesn't even know if his team is eliminated from the playoffs?
Yeah, I know thought that was kind of weird.
Not a good look. You got Dan Campbell, who knows exactly what they're playing for Detroit, and Ron Rivera is surprised when a reporter tells him that his team is eliminated.
Right.
Let's go ahead and move on. Number 17. This is a team that's interesting. It's actually one of the hottest teams in the NFL. Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to put it at 17. They're 8-8. So the whole Tomlin keeping his streak alive would be 16 straight years without a losing record is still alive. Not only that, Aaron, they have a shot at the playoffs. They need a ton of help, but it's actually not crazy. They play the Browns next week. They need the Patriots to lose to the Bills, and they need the Dolphins to lose to the Jets. Those are three very likely scenarios. Could we see the Steelers sneak into the 7th seed? They were 2-6 going into Week 10, and they have the 5th best record since Week 10.
No offense to your Dolphins, but I do think the Pittsburgh Steelers do make the playoffs. They are going to get this last victory over the Browns. I don't know where Tua's going to be at as far as his concussion protocol is, but even
he's not
with
playing
Tua,
this week. He's not playing. It's going to be Skylar Thompson, most likely, maybe Teddy.
Two-glove Teddy, he broke his finger, so maybe he can power through that. We don't know. Yeah, I don't think Miami, because they haven't been playing that good at football lately. I had them a little bit lower. I think I had them at the 18th spot originally.
All right, well, let's see who you got at 16. Let's keep on rolling.
Miami right now, they're my lowest seed right here. Like I said, I had them at 18. I had the New England Patriots above them, actually. But they have been losing a lot of football games lately even with Tua playing. I don't like to see teams going into the playoffs, kind of not streaking. Like if you're like losing 2 of your last 5 games, to me, that's not very good football that you're playing, especially when you're a playoff caliber team. Xavier Howard being out, Bradley Chubb being out really hurts that defense. And that quarterback, I like Tua. I thought he played really good football this year as a quarterback, but he just couldn't make it happen towards the back end of the season. And I don't know if that has to do with that obviously has to do with his concussion injury, but just maybe that hip isn't quite ready to, outlast a whole season.
Well, it has to do with how defenses have played them too. They completely changed. They played a more physical press coverage style, more of kind of like a deep middle zone, because the middle is where Miami has really attacked a lot with Waddle and Hill. Has taken that away, and he just hasn't been able to adjust, and the offense hasn't really been able to adjust. But none of these possible number 7 seeds look all that good. I don't think the Patriots deserve it. The Steelers are a great story, but I wouldn't pick them over the Dolphins even at this point. And I'm not high on Miami. I don't, Miami's like you said, they're stumbling. Let's keep on rolling. Let's go ahead and jump to, let's put the Seattle Seahawks, who finally were able to come and win a game when they needed to, and they've made it simple for themselves. Win and in. A team that in the preseason I picked number 32 overall now has a shot to simply beat a very beatable Rams team and get the 7 seed in the NFC. If you're Pete Carroll, you have to feel good about that situation. If you're Geno Smith, what a season. Pro Bowler. Any thoughts on Seattle quickly?
I think it's a fun story with Geno Smith. He beat the team that drafted him in the Jets in this last game. He played pretty good football in that as well. Kenneth Walker, that dude's a beast. I think he ran for over 130 yards. This defense is starting to play better, but not as good as football as we're used to Seattle team playing. And I think that's kind of the reason why they are around 8-8.
We have 14 spots left in 9 minutes, so let's go ahead and get 14 from you, Aaron.
All right, number 14, I am going to throw the Pittsburgh Steelers in there. Oh, no.
We have the Steelers. I already put the Steelers. Yeah. Welcome to the draft. Welcome to the draft.
My bad. I need to keep caught up. I'll throw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in there.
Okay.
Yes, they're a playoff team just because they won the worst division in football, or one of the worst divisions in football. But, TB12, he did go off with Mike Evans, which that's the first time we've seen it all year. We've been seeing him overthrow Mike Evans over and over and over, or even underthrowing it, which is something you don't normally see Tom Brady do. This defense has been playing good, but not great football. This offense is, it's going to be the downfall of them. I just hate potentially seeing them in the first round of the playoffs as a Cowboys fan. But if there's ever a time to go up against Tom Brady, now's the time.
What are we on? 13. Let's go ahead and put the Giants. They're in the playoffs. This is the opposite of the Dolphins, Aaron. They're actually peaking at the right time. I think their defense has played really well. They got Xavier McKinney back. They got Adoree Jackson back. Kayvon Thibodeau, minus his disgusting sack dances, has played really well. Aziz Ojulari, they've had a lot of playmakers. Daniel Jones played his best game as a pro to lock up a playoff spot. So you have to like how this team is being coached by Brian Dable. You have to like that the momentum they have. I still don't think they can really compete. If they get the Vikings, which it looks like they might, then they could win a playoff game. But I don't know how much farther they would go from there. So 13 seems like a good spot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree with that one right there. The next at 12, I do have the Detroit Lions. They did wax the Bears, and I think that was a perfect time to have a get back on track game because, the next game they're got to go up against the Packers is basically a win and in kind of thing. I think, they need Seattle to lose as well. So their fate is kind of in their hands, but not really.
Well, I think that they can at least, in Dan Campbell's words, they can at least spoil it for the Packers. Right. Yes. So, yeah, I think it was somebody, David in the chat mentioned that the Packers, the Seahawks only get in if the Packers lose. So if the Packers are winning in, the Seahawks need the Packers to lose. So the Lions are they're going to be motivated in this game, regardless of what happens in the Seattle game, which happens earlier in the day. Anthony, I'll have you know I had the Lions at 9. I do view them as a top 10 team. They have won 7 of 9, nearly beat the Bills. The only real dud on there was that showing against Carolina. So I think I really want to see Detroit in the playoffs, but it might end up being a different team. So let's go to number 11, Baltimore Ravens. I don't feel great about putting them at 11. They've already clinched the playoff spot. They're 10-6. Hopefully Lamar comes back. We still don't have any news on that. Their defense is playing great, but they're 3-2 in their last 5 games. They're not an inspiring football team right now.
No, they're not. That offense without Lamar Jackson is scoring significantly less points. But that defense with Roquan Smith finally, getting a hold of that defense is looking really good. If Lamar Jackson comes back in time for the playoff run, that might be a scary team.
All right, let's keep on rolling. We got just over 5 minutes left. Let's go to the top 10.
I will throw the Jacksonville Jaguars right here. I know they're currently the number 4 seed because they are on top of the AFC South. Trevor Lawrence is balling out right now. That defense is a little sketch for me to throw them up any higher. And their run game is actually starting to come alive with Travis Etienne and stuff. So I do like the Jacksonville Jaguars right around there.
Let's go ahead and put the Vikings in at 9. I actually had the Vikings lower. I like the Lions and the Jags more than I like Minnesota. 12-4 team. 11 of those wins are by 1 score. That's an NFL record. Their 4 losses, they have been absolutely pummeled. Lost by 11 points or more in every single one of their losses. Green Bay handed it to them. I know that they've won the North, and the Packers are still fighting for a wild card spot. But this is a team with so many weaknesses. One of the worst defenses in the whole NFL. They look like they're locked in the number 3 seed. You can't put them too low in the power rankings, but I do not believe in this Vikings team at all.
No, I agree with that completely.
Yeah, David mentions the point differential. I think it's negative 19 or 20 right now. 12-4, and they have a very much a negative point differential. That tells you everything you need to know about this team. Hey, Kevin O'Connell, great job coaching your guys up to win those close games, but that is hard to ride throughout an entire playoff run. Aaron, let's hear number 8.
Number 8, I'm going to go ahead and throw the Green Bay Packers up in there. Yes, they're playing good football. Aaron Rodgers is starting to look like the Cameron Poe reference that he made at the beginning of the year. You know, the guy from Con Air. Defensively, they're able to lock down Justin Jefferson, who is top 3 best wide receivers in the league.
Oh, so, number 1. Jefferson's the best wide receiver in the league right now, I would say.
Well, Cooper Kupp, he did miss some games. You don't win the Triple Crown and not be the best wide receiver in the league.
This year, 2022, it's Jefferson. My thoughts.
He was on the way. He was on the way to repeating if he didn't get hurt.
Yeah, I think the Packers are playing fantastic football. Another one of those teams that's peaking at the right time. Doesn't matter how you start, matters how you finish. They completely control their own fate. They're more of a fun team to watch than they were earlier in the season. I don't mind them making the playoffs. I like these NFC 7 seed candidates a lot more than the AFC candidates. Seattle, they're a frisky team. The Lions are the team I really want to make it in because I've been just really liking the Dan Campbell experience. And, of course, the Packers actually playing good football on both sides of the ball. Number 7, let's go ahead and put the LA Chargers. This is a team that is playing maybe some of the best football of any of these teams. They just keep getting better and better each week, especially since Mike Williams has come back. Keenan Allen, they got Joey Bosa back this week. Didn't do a lot, but just having him on there. This is a team, those teams that make the playoffs where you're like, nobody wants to face them, even if they're not a top seed. I definitely classify the Chargers as that. Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler had 100 yards in the first half. This is a team that is rolling on all cylinders, and this is the right time to do that.
I think they're a little fool's gold.
Okay.
Yeah,
I picked the Chargers in the preseason to make the AFC Championship, so this is more like the team I expected early on, who's just now kind of finding their rhythm.
They've only played or beaten 2 playoff caliber teams, and that's the Titans and the Dolphins. Every other playoff caliber team they lost to. And everyone else, they're not really beating convincingly enough for me to. I mean, yeah, they beat the Colts and the Rams lately, but we both know they're like bottom of the barrel.
All right, we've got 6 spots left in a minute and a half. Let's hear number 6.
My Dallas Cowboys, very inconsistent. Dak with his interceptions is not very comforting. Yes, you're one of the best teams in the league, but out of the best teams in the league, you are the worst as of right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's another team that has some obvious weaknesses. They took care of business on Thursday night against the Titans. They still have a chance at the number 1 seed, as crazy as that is, if they win and the Eagles lose. Something to monitor. Number 5, Cincinnati Bengals. We mentioned at the top of the show, I didn't move them in my rankings. They didn't have a game for all intents and purposes with what happened with Damar Hamlin in that game. So I don't want to say anything about the Bengals and Bills personally. I'm happy to move on to number 4, and we'll visit them next week.
5 is exactly where I had them. Number 4, I did have the Philadelphia Eagles. Gardner Minshew is not the best backup in the league. That would go to
Sorry, John
Cooper
Chapman.
Rush. That would go to Cooper Rush, 4-1, by the way. You lost to the Saints, that gives Dallas the opportunity and a lot of other teams the opportunity to get first place in the NFC.
Yeah, I think it's supposedly Jalen Hurts will be back this week. Eagles could not be more happy to get him at quarterback to try to lock up that number 1 seed. I see the timer about to run out. Let's do 1 more minute, Anthony, and we'll roll through these top 3 teams. At number 3, I'm going to go ahead and put the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a team that you got Mahomes, you got Andy Reid. Even if they're not absolutely destroying teams, all you need is to get them in the playoffs, get some home field games, and I can see them as a Super Bowl contender. The defense has been spotty. They had to take the Texans to overtime. They struggled against the Broncos, but they're still finding ways to win. Jerick McKinnon has 5 straight games of a receiving touchdown. That's an NFL record nice. For a running back. So number 2.
Number 2, San Francisco 49ers, hottest team in the league right now. Defense is outstanding. Offense with Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, is playing good right now. So yeah, I give him number 2.
For those watching, and especially those 49ers fans in the chat, I did have the 49ers 1 on my rankings. I had the Bills at number 2. The 49ers, what I like about this, I'm going to mention this quickly and then we'll wrap up, is this was a big test. So loud and annoying, the gong in my ears. This was a big test because this was the first time they were down. Brock Purdy had to come back on the road, take him to overtime, and it's a test they passed in a game where his defense, which has been the strength of this team, played one of, if not their worst game of the year. The fact that the Niners still found a way to win that game, that makes me feel really good with the way this team is playing. They're still relatively healthy. I know Dre Greenlaw got a little beat up in this game. Christian McCaffrey took it over on offense. So that's why I had them at number 1. But really these top 5 to 6 teams, you put the Cowboys in there if they're playing at their best. Any of these teams you could see as a Super Bowl contender. Anthony, let's roll to number 10. Let's quickly go 10 through 1 for those just listening on the podcast and want to see a visual. This is our collective power rankings draft. At number 10, we got the Jaguars, 9 Vikings. It feels bad. I want to put the Vikings at like 15. Packers at 8, Chargers at 7, Cowboys at 6, Bengals at 5, Eagles at 4, Chiefs at 3, Niners at 2, and Buffalo Bills at 1. Aaron, any last thoughts before we wrap up power rankings and look into week 18?
No, this is going to be a fun last week. There's a lot of potential for for people to get number 1 seed in NFC. That 7th seed for both conferences is going to be interesting to see who makes it. A lot of good football left to be played.
Aaron, thank you so much for joining me. Make sure to check out the Hasbeen Sports Podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. You can check out Aaron's main show. Thanks for listening, guys. Once again, our hearts, our thoughts go out to Damar Hamlin, the family of Damar Hamlin. We only hope he recovers. Such a human moment. This is a game that we're talking about here, but none of that matters when it comes to life and death. Football goes out the window. So we really hope, for everyone's sake, that he recovers. We will be making sure to monitor that, and we'll bring you updates in the Legit Football newsletter. Thanks, as always, guys, for listening and watching. This has been 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. We'll see you next time. That's spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
We'll say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner.